Alright folks, I'm going to start this video once again with a trigger warning. I'm going to tell you guys why Asian and Indian men are the smallest. By the way, when I'm saying smallest, I'm not just talking about your height, I'm also talking about the size of your vegetarian spring roll. Now, if you guys don't believe me, well, I have personally seen over 20,000 Chinese penises. Yes, this is when I was living in northeastern China and when I was using those public communal showers every single week. I'm just telling you guys, man, I'm sorry to say when God was making an Asian man, unfortunately, God decided to nerf us downstairs. So the vast majority of Asian men, they're not packing a weapon of mass destruction. And I'll tell you guys why Asians and Indians are smaller. And I'll tell you guys what is the solution to solving this crisis in order to save these rice cells and also the curry cells. Well, first of all, I don't think the size of your egg roll is actually directly related to your race or ethnicity. I think it's more about your body size. For example, someone like Yao Ming, who is 7'6" versus Kevin Hart, a black guy who is 5'4". I'm sorry to say I'm going to offend you if you're a Kevin Hart fan. I mean, Kevin Hart probably doesn't have a big penis. The guy is 5'4", come on. Compared to a guy, Yao Ming, who is 7'6", and I think he weighs about 320 pounds. So yeah, I think the size of your egg roll is more directly correlated to your body size. And obviously, you guys cannot argue this. Generally speaking, once again, on average, right, Asians, also South Asians, so, Indians, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Nepalese, right, when I'm talking about Asians, I'm talking about, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Filipino. On average, once again, compared to Europeans, they're significantly smaller, they're significantly shorter. And I'll tell you guys why this is happening. Actually, I think there's a way to fix this. Just imagine this, if we actually solved this crisis for Asian males, if the average Chinese guy, the Asian guy was 6'2", 220, and with an 8-pack, I mean, Asian guys will be absolutely unstoppable. I mean, that's when you know it's completely game over for the white man. So, why are Asians so much smaller? Well, I want you guys to think about these two things. Milk, first of all. And of course, when I'm talking about milk, I'm talking about cow milk. Don't drink goat's milk. That's not good for you. You need cow's milk. So, I mean, it's difficult to say, right, who was the first person to drink milk. But the Europeans, they have been drinking milk for thousands of years. This is not the same for Chinese, by the way. If you actually trace back history, yes, some Chinese tribes, they were drinking goat's milk or even horse milk. But that's terrible for you. You need to actually drink cow's milk. So, the Europeans, for example, look at the Vikings. Look at someone like Hafthor Bjornsson, right? Look at Magnus Vermagnuson. Look at how massive those Norwegians are. Look at how massive those Icelandic giants are. Well, they have been drinking milk for thousands of years, and this is not the case for the Chinese. That's why they're so much more smaller when you compare them to the Vikings. So just imagine, the first guy to drink milk. I would say there's a 99.9% chance it was a white guy. Imagine, 3,000-4,000 years ago, a couple of white guys just walking down the middle of the road, and they see a cow over there, and one guy's like, dude, look at that thing. Oh my God, it's massive, man. Look at those that's hanging out at the bottom, man. Hey, why don't we go over there? Why don't we try to stroke it? Why don't we try to squeeze on it and see what happens? And a couple of these white blokes, and they just walk over and they start stroking this cow. Then all of a sudden, after a couple minutes, these guys are like, oh my God, holy shit, look at all this white stuff that's shooting out of these nipples. Oh my God, what is that? Is that like a lactose free or something? Hey, maybe we should actually suck on it and give it a try. Maybe it's going to be good for your health. Who knows? And then they just both start sucking on it. Then they realize that actually maybe it doesn't taste so bad. We should turn this into a tradition in our village. We should all come over and start stroking these cows and drinking the white stuff that's coming out of it. I mean, honestly, that's probably how this tradition originated. It was definitely a couple of weird white dudes that started stroking this cow in the middle of an empty road and started drinking cow's milk a couple of thousands of years ago. But you see, it's very different for the Chinese. The Chinese didn't really start drinking cow's milk until the Qing dynasty. So it's only been less than 300 years. So think about it, right? The Europeans, the Vikings, they have been drinking milk for thousands of years. The Chinese have only been doing it for less than 300 years. So, I mean, there's a massive time gap. So perhaps, that's a pretty solid explanation as to why the Vikings are so massive and the Chinese are so much smaller. And so, by the way, yes, the Chinese, they do drink a lot of soy milk. Honestly, Stop drinking soy milk, man. That's not good for you. And maybe only for Chinese women or for Asian women in general. For Asian guys, you should not be drinking soy milk because it's going to make you extremely feminine. It's literally going to turn you into a soy boy, and it's going to give you man nipples. So stop drinking soy milk. You need cow's milk. Now, if you guys don't believe me, right, about this whole drinking milk thing, by the way, so I said two things, right? So it's not just milk, it's also beef, right? The cow's meat. These two elements are absolutely essential if you want to make your Asian son grow taller and stronger. So if you go to China, if you go to the north, okay, go to Harbin, the capital of the Heilongjiang province in the northeast. Go to Changchun, the capital of the Jilin province, which is right below Harbin. And so after you visit these two cities, then go to the south, visit Hong Kong, visit Shenzhen, you will notice a massive height difference between man from the north versus man in the south. For example, if you go to the north, let's say if you're, let's say just a specific age group between 18 to 35. I would say the majority of these Chinese men in the north are anywhere between 5'9" to 5'11". However, if you go to the south, once again, right, this is Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, you will know that even though, right, they're both Chinese men, right, they're both of the same ethnic background, they're from the same country, the men from the south, they're significantly shorter. I'm talking about at least 3, 4, 5 inches on average. Once again, age group between 18 to 35. Most men from the south are anywhere between 5'5" to 5'7". And I think the reason is very obvious because if you actually go to the north, if you have lived there for a while, you will notice that drinking cow's milk and eating beef, it's a very normal part of the diet for these northern Chinese people. They have been accustomed to drinking cow's milk and eating beef for a couple hundred years now. However, this is not so much of a tradition in the south where people are still more accustomed to drinking tea and eating dim sum and also vegetarian spring rolls. So, I mean, that makes a massive difference. Once again, if you look at the man from northern China versus man from southern China, I would say the man in the north on average are at least between 4 to 5 inches taller. So it's very important. You need to have beef in your diet and you need to have red meat in general. And that is also why, look at the average height for the Indian man, for the Pakistani, for the Bangladeshi, for the Nepalese. The vast majority of them, they're very small compared to the Europeans as well. And the massive contributing factor as to why that is happening is because there are way too many vegetarians in India. So because, well, in India, first of all, the cow is holy, so they cannot eat beef. And remember Adolf Hitler, he was a regular meat eater for all of his life until 1939, September 1st. And that's when he invaded Poland and started World War II. That's when he turned into a vegetarian for the last 6 years of his life. I'm just telling you guys, man, the vast majority of vegetarians are extremely weird. You guys want to look up to those Thai monks or Chinese Shaolin monks. I will just tell you guys this. The vast majority of them have very, very small penises. It's because if all of your diet, right, if that's all you're eating every single day, it's some watered down miso soup or some tofu or napa cabbage or kimchi or bibimbap or bean sprout, there's no way you're going to have a big dick. I mean, your penis is going to be tiny. And the reason why I'm telling you guys this is because the vast majority of those monks in China, they're all fake. I mean, of course, they're not allowed to have a girlfriend or get married. But you don't think those men said they have sexual urges? You don't think they actually go to karaoke bars or one of those Asian lady massage parlors? You don't think these guys actually hire hookers or prostitutes? It's very normal. There has been so many scandals between these Chinese monks. And yeah, of course, the words are going to get out online. These Chinese massage ladies or these Chinese hookers that has been with these Chinese monks, they post comments about their egg rolls all over the internet. The vast majority of these Chinese monks who are on a 100% vegetarian diet, yeah, they're going to have tiny dicks. That's why you need to eat beef, you need to eat red meat, and you need to drink lots of milk if you guys want to change this terrible stereotype about the Asian man and also about the Indian man. Stop being vegetarian, stop worshipping the cow. You need beef and you need milk. And I can also provide to you guys some more concrete evidence if you guys think I'm making up an anti-Asian man or anti-Indian man propaganda on talking about why they have small egg rolls. Imagine, right? So if a Chinese guy is massive, let's say he's 6'3", and let's say he weighs maybe 225, right? And he's absolutely shredded. I want you guys to pay close attention. And yeah, so you can try to, if you know personally, right, Asian males or Asian females in your inner circle, try to observe their hand size. And if you can, try to find out what size of shoe they're wearing. Even for a Chinese guy who is, let's say, who is 6'3" and absolutely shredded, his hands and his feet are going to be very small. Once again, when you compare it to the size of his body, that guy probably has very small hands and very small feet. It's the same thing for a woman. If, let's say, this Chinese woman is 5'11", however, if you look at the size of her hands and also feet, they're going to be very small. Yeah, just think about some of the sports, whatever you want to call it, hobbies that Asians are good at, right? Think about solving a Rubik's Cube or playing cards. I'm talking about, those magic tricks, sleight of hand, being a dealer at the casino, or cup stacking or darts. What do all of these events require? They require you to have a very, very small hands. That's why so many Asians they're so good at these things. It's very interesting, all right? If you go to China, if you try to shop for a shoe, by the way, when I'm in China, when I'm going to those retail stores, I cannot find any shoes that actually fits my feet. I have to actually shop online. So I have to use the app called Pinduoduo. So I have to actually buy my shoes online because typically, so this is the North American size. So I wear either size 11 or size 11.5. So the shoes I'm wearing right now, they're a little bit dirty. I haven't been cleaning them. So these are 11.5. So right here. And so this in European size will either be 45 or 46. That's the size of shoe I'm wearing. However, for the vast majority of Chinese men, they only wear between size 8 to size 10. In European size, that's 39 to 43. The maximum you can find in any Chinese retail store is 10.5 or size 44 for European. That is the maximum. I think that should tell you guys something. So if you guys are wondering why, how come I'm a size 11 or 11.5 when all of the Chinese retail stores, they only sell up to a size 10.5 or a size 44 if you're from Europe. So how come, the Chinese man on average, their feet, it's so much smaller? Once again, right, I believe the size of your egg roll is directly proportional to your body size, not just your height, also your hands and your feet. So yeah, if you have small hands, if you have small feet, that means probably you have a small egg roll. Why is this happening? Foot binding for women. It was practiced for over 1,000 years. I think the reason why that, I'm wearing a size 11.5 right now is because probably, I'm talking about my great grandmother. They probably never had to go through foot binding. And if you're wondering, just to have a look at this photo, it's absolutely devastating. This was actually practiced on the majority of Chinese women for over 1,000 years. And I think the reason why it did not happen to my 7th great grandmother was because she was probably a poor peasant. Generally speaking, yeah, especially if you're being married into royalty, right? If you're marrying a guy who is a government official, or if you're marrying a prince, or if you become a concubine to the emperor. So anybody who is a middle class or upper class, all of these women, they all have to get their foot bind. And it's absolutely horrific. I'm glad that China no longer practices this. It's because for the longest time, right, this was the beauty standard in China for over 1,000 years. So for a woman to have big feet, that is a massive sin. Big feet means that it is ugly, it is repulsive. So there's a saying in China, it's called 三寸金莲, which literally translates to 3 inches golden lotus. Yes, I'm not making that up. It's actually called the 3 inches golden lotus because that is the golden standard back in the day for over 1,000 years for Chinese woman's feet size. And her feet was not allowed to be more than 3 inches. Yeah, maybe that's why so many Chinese men nowadays, they have 3 inches egg rolls. We're all paying for the sins of our ancestors who are doing stupid stuff like this. So yeah, obviously, yeah, if these women, they were being forced into this terrible practice of 3 inches golden lotus, so they are going to have tiny feet, right? Think about what happens when these girls, when they get married, and let's say if they have a son or a daughter. Of course, if their feet is 3 inches, that means that their son or daughter is going to have small feet, and they're going to have small hands. And if they have small feet and small hands, that means that they're going to have a small egg roll. So yes, Asian men nowadays, the reason why, on average, they're significantly smaller compared to, let's say, their European counterparts, it's because, yeah, all of us, myself included, we're all paying for the sins of our ancestors. Once again, right, you might not believe in the Chinese egg roll or the Indian egg roll, but you have to acknowledge, on average, Indian and Asian men are significantly shorter versus the Europeans. And also, just look at the size of their hands and feet. Even for a Chinese guy who is 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", their hands and feet, right, once again, directly proportional to their body size, it's going to be extremely small. And if you guys are looking for a solution, right, what is going to be the lifeline to help these rice cells and curry cells? Well, if you're looking to marry an Asian woman you probably want to look for Asian women with big hands and big feet. Because that probably means that your offspring, either your son or daughter, is going to have bigger hands and bigger feet, and probably a bigger Chinese egg roll. If you guys don't believe me, once again, right, actually book a vacation, go to China. Visit northern China versus southern China. You will notice that people in the north, they're significantly bigger. And the reason why Chinese people up north are significantly bigger compared to their southern counterparts is because drinking cow's milk has been a regular part of their diet for many generations now. And also just they love eating beef up north. It's very, very important to have these things in your diet. You need to eat beef and you need to drink cow's milk. And also when you're looking for a partner, right, look for Asian women with big hands and big feet. So your offspring will most likely have a bigger Chinese egg roll. Once again, I can understand if you guys disagree with the points I've made in this video, but I want you guys to really pay attention to this. Yeah, pay attention to the size of any Asian guys or Asian girls' hands. And if you have the chance, right, just find out about their shoe size. And I want to thank everybody who has clicked on this video and stayed all the way until the end. If you guys have enjoyed the contents of this video, please consider subscribing. And this topic is going to be continued. I'll see you guys next time.